Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something that honestly feels like science fiction turning into reality. We're looking at how some really advanced R&D companies are trying to solve medicine's toughest puzzles. You know those cases, the ones that stump even the best doctors. Where the diagnosis is just elusive, that's our focus. We're exploring this idea of medical superintelligence. And crucially, this isn't just about AI doing tasks faster like simple automation. No, it's deeper. It's about human-centered AI that kind of understands meaning, augmenting clinical reasoning.
Exactly. And central to this whole conversation is the pioneering work of Dr.-Eng-Prof Yogesh Malhotra. He's developed these post-AI quantum frameworks. The big one we'll discuss is QASANs, Quantum Augmented Self-Adaptive Complex Systems. It's significant work. Grok AI actually called him a singular post-AI quantum pioneer.
Wow.
Yeah, for like 3 decades of solid, cohesive R&D in this space. Post-AI quantum networks, QASANs, quantum generative AI, even quantum finance. His background includes time as an MIT Princeton faculty SME. And really, you need to see this as part of a bigger picture. It's an extension of medicine's long journey from what we call wet science towards dry science.
Okay, that's a great frame. So for you, our listener, we're going to unpack what makes this QA-SAN approach potentially so revolutionary. We'll explore the core ideas and what it could mean for diagnostics, especially for those really tough cases. So let's start right there, this shift from wet science to dry science. What's that about? Why is it so important now?
Right. So wet science is what you probably picture when you think of traditional medicine. It's the empirical stuff, the hands-on lab work, physical experiments, clinical trials, doctors observing patients, relying on years of human expertise. It's tangible, working directly with biological materials, tests and test tubes, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. The classic lab coat image.
Exactly. Now, dry science. That's the computational side. It's driven by data. We're talking complex computer models, algorithms, AI crunching massive data sets, way more than a human could handle. Think simulations, deep statistical analysis, machine learning spotting patterns humans might miss. This move towards digital analysis is vital for tackling the sheer complexity we face today, especially in areas like cancer, neurology, rare diseases. Wet science methods just hit a wall sometimes.
Okay, so dry science gives us the power to process all this information. But you're saying even with standard AI, medicine still faces huge challenges. What are those specific hurdles?
That's a key point. Computational power helps, but medicine's complexity runs deep. Current AI often falls short. We can break it down into maybe 4 big areas. First, the data itself, high-dimensional data. Genomic data, proteomic data, clinical notes, imaging. It's not just vast, it's incredibly varied. Different types of data, all interconnected. Finding the real signal in that noise is hard.
Just the sheer volume and variety.
Precisely. Second, there's inherent uncertainty and variability. Every single patient is unique. Their genetics, lifestyle, environment, it all adds layers of variability. Static AI models, they like predictable patterns. They often struggle with this patient-specific nuance.
Right. A model trained on one population might not work perfectly for another individual.
Exactly. Third, there's cognitive overload for the doctors themselves. Even the sharpest experts have limits. Facing a rare disease or a case with conflicting symptoms, trying to integrate test results, patient history, the latest research papers, it's overwhelming.
Too many pieces to juggle.
Way too many. And finally, the interpretability issue, the black box problem. Many AI models give you an answer, but they can't really explain why. You put data in, get a prediction out, but the reasoning pathway is hidden.
Which makes it hard to trust, especially in high-stakes medical decisions.
Absolutely. So all these things together tell us we need more than just automation. We need augmentation. Systems need to be adaptive, understand context, and be explainable.
Okay, that distinction, automation versus augmentation, feels critical.
Yeah.
So what exactly is medical superintelligence then? How is it fundamentally different?
Right. Medical superintelligence isn't just AI performing tasks. It's AI systems that actually surpass human expert performance in complex clinical reasoning. But, and this is the crucial part, they do it while keeping humans in the loop with strong ethical oversight.
So not replacing doctors.
Definitely not. It's about empowering them, giving them insights and analytical power beyond current human limits. Think of it this way. Automation might read an X-ray faster. Superintelligence tries to integrate that X-ray with the patient's genetics, history, and symptoms for a deeper diagnosis. It focuses on contextual understanding, pulling together all sorts of data, imaging, genomics, EHRs for a holistic view. It needs adaptive reasoning, meaning it adjusts on the fly to new info and uncertainty, almost like human learning. It has to be human-centered by design, making its outputs clear and interpretable so the doctor understands the why.
The explainability factor again.
Critical. And underpinning all of it is ethical alignment, ensuring fairness, privacy, accountability. That's non-negotiable.
Okay, this sets the stage perfectly for Dr. Malhotra's work. How does his QASANs framework specifically tackle these challenges and help enable this superintelligence?
This is where it gets really interesting. Dr. Malhotra's QASANs framework, Quantum Augmented Self-Adaptive Complex Systems, is designed precisely to overcome the limits of older static AI models. It's not just an incremental improvement, it aims for a leap by combining quantum concepts with ideas from complex adaptive systems.
Quantum augmented. Okay, break that down.
Sure. So first, quantum augmentation. This uses quantum computing principles and algorithms. Think about biology, genes, proteins, metabolites, all interacting in incredibly complex, simultaneous ways. Classical computers really struggle to model that combinatorial explosion. Quantum algorithms are inherently better suited to handle these kinds of high-dimensional entangled relationships. They offer potential exponential speedups, yes, but also a fundamentally better way to capture the underlying biological complexity.
So it's not just faster, it's a different kind of computation for this type of problem.
Exactly. Second is self-adaptivity. QASANs aren't trained once and then fixed. They're designed to learn and evolve continuously in real time. They adapt as new patient data comes in, as clinical guidelines change, as new research emerges. That dynamic learning is crucial in medicine.
Because medicine never stands still.
Never. Then there's meaning-aware processing. This is key for the human-centered part. It's about embedding a kind of semantic understanding so the AI's output aligns better with how human doctors reason. It enhances interpretability because it's not just finding patterns, it's trying to understand the clinical meaning.
Making it less of a black box, more of a collaborator.
That's the goal. And finally, it moves beyond static reinforcement learning, RL, and generative AI. Traditional RL needs predefined rewards, which is tough in medicine's messy, uncertain reality. Generative AI can be amazing, but sometimes hallucinates or isn't grounded. KAs are built to handle deep uncertainty and ambiguity, more like human intuition. It's a shift from AI that just learns from the past, backward-looking, to systems that are adaptive and forward-thinking.
Wow, okay. That's a lot to unpack. So translating this from theory, what does it actually look like in practice? Where are we seeing these ideas making a difference?
We're starting to see real applications emerge, or at least strong proof of concepts pointing the way. Take enhanced diagnostic accuracy. QASANs-like approaches can analyze multi-omics data together, genomics, proteomics, metabolomics, plus clinical notes, imaging, all of it. This multi-layered view can spot subtle biomarkers for early disease detection that might be missed otherwise. Think complex cancers or neurological disorders. For instance, the Fraunhofer Institute has done work showing quantum-enhanced machine learning models improving tumor detection and imaging, even with limited data. That quantum edge seems to help extract more signal.
And you mentioned accuracy numbers earlier.
Right, like Microsoft's MAI Diagnostic Orchestrator using multiple AI models that sort of debate a diagnosis hitting around 85% accuracy on tough clinical challenges from the New England Journal of Medicine. Compare that to maybe 20% for generalist physicians on those same hard cases. It shows the potential jump.
That's a huge difference.
It is. Then there's personalized medicine. By deeply analyzing an individual's unique data mix, genes, environment, lifestyle, these systems can help tailor treatments much more precisely. Quantum methods might help predict drug responses based on complex genetic interactions, for example. True precision medicine.
Makes sense. And real-time support.
Yes, real-time clinical decision support. Imagine a system powered by these principles, giving doctors instant, evidence-based recommendations that adapt as the patient's condition changes. Not static guidelines, but dynamic support. This could massively help reduce diagnostic errors, especially under pressure or with ambiguous symptoms.
And the explainability piece.
Crucial. Explainable AI, XAI, is being integrated. So the system doesn't just say diagnose X, it shows why highlighting key data points, pathways, confidence levels builds trust, essential for safety.
You have to be able to understand the reasoning.
Absolutely. And finally, looking a bit further out, quantum-enhanced imaging. Using quantum effects could potentially lead to MRI or CT scans with much higher resolution, maybe spotting tiny biomarkers years earlier than we can now.
That would be revolutionary for early detection. Are there specific projects or collaborations really pushing this forward?
Definitely. A great example is the Cleveland Clinic and IBM Discovery Accelerator. They're specifically using quantum computing and AI to tackle things like protein structure prediction. Understanding protein shapes is fundamental for drug discovery and understanding many rare diseases. It's a computationally brutal problem, perfect for these advanced methods.
Tackling the really hard computational biology.
Exactly. And we mentioned the Fraunhofer Institute using quantum CNNs for medical imaging. Their results showing good performance even with less data are really significant. It suggests quantum approaches might be particularly valuable where data is scarce, like in rare diseases.
Interesting point.
Also, large health systems like Kaiser Permanente are building serious infrastructure to develop and validate AI tools. Their focus is on rigorous testing, ethical use, and ensuring these tools actually work well with clinicians in real-world settings. That validation piece is critical.
It all sounds incredibly promising, a real potential shift, but let's be realistic. What are the major roadblocks? It can't all be smooth sailing.
Oh, absolutely not. There are significant hurdles. First, the hardware itself. Quantum computers are powerful but still largely experimental, often noisy and hard to scale. We need more robust, stable quantum hardware for widespread medical use. That's a huge engineering challenge.
We're not quite there yet on the hardware front.
Not for broad deployment, no.
Yeah.
Then there's data privacy. We're talking about integrating incredibly sensitive patient data from multiple sources. The ethical considerations, security protocols, patient consent models, they all need to be watertight and carefully navigated. Public trust is paramount.
A huge ethical and logistical challenge.
Massive. Third, regulation. How do bodies like the FDA evaluate and approve these highly complex adaptive AI and quantum-enabled systems? The regulatory frameworks need to evolve quickly to keep pace with the technology while ensuring safety and efficacy. That's a tricky balance.
Regulation often lags behind cutting-edge tech.
It often does. And finally, interdisciplinary collaboration. Getting quantum physicists, AI researchers, data scientists, clinicians, ethicists, and regulators all speaking the same language and working together effectively. That's a major organizational and cultural challenge. These fields have very different perspectives and priorities sometimes.
Bridging those disciplinary gaps is key. So thinking about overcoming these challenges, what stands out to you? Where should R&D efforts really focus to make this vision a reality?
For me, it boils down to building the entire ecosystem, not just the core tech. Yes, we need continued focus on scalable, fault-tolerant quantum hardware. That's fundamental. But just as important is interdisciplinary training. We need programs to train clinicians who understand AI and quantum basics, and AI researchers who understand clinical needs and ethics. Bridging that knowledge gap is vital.
Building the human expertise alongside the tech.
Precisely. We also desperately need robust ethical frameworks and clear standards developed proactively, not reactively. Addressing bias, ensuring transparency, managing consent, these need to be baked in from the start. And finally, none of this matters without rigorous real-world validation. Extensive clinical trials in diverse settings are non-negotiable to prove these systems are safe, effective, generalizable, and actually improve care before they're widely adopted.
So it's a multi-pronged effort: tech, people, ethics, and proof. This has been fascinating. It really paints a picture of how this concept of medical superintelligence, driven by frameworks like Dr. Malhotra's QASANs, could genuinely change medical diagnostics.
Yeah.
It's moving beyond just assistance to, well, true augmentation of human intelligence.
It really is. It highlights that journey from wet science to dry science, doesn't it? Using our most advanced computing tools not to replace human insight, but to amplify it in ways we couldn't before.
The potential impact seems enormous. Better accuracy, truly personalized treatments, hopefully better outcomes for patients everywhere. So for you listening, maybe the final thought is this. Imagine a future where medicine's most complex riddles aren't insurmountable barriers, but challenges routinely solved by this partnership between human expertise and profoundly augmented intelligence. What does that future mean for how we think about health, our own bodies, and the trust we place in the systems that care for us? Something to ponder.